Nice to be here. Like the introduction said, I'm here to talk to you guys about why, if you're thinking about it, or maybe if you're not, it's interesting to explore the world of hyper casual. Again, I work for TapTale in Israel. We went into hyper casual games about 2 years ago. Me personally, I joined just 3 months ago. So my short answer for why you should go into hyper casual games is most of my career I made more mid-core and even casual, but with metagame puzzle games that take years of development, a lot of long soft launches, and then you don't know exactly what happens and if you end up releasing the game. And hyper casual is really a chance to not just focus always on one mechanic, and also not to put yourself in a box, not know what the data is, put a high production value without knowing if you're going to get back the return. And you can really iterate on the games themselves and really move from project to project quite quickly. So that's kind of, for me and my DNA, personally, it's much more into getting results fast. Again, this is not for everybody, but I think for a lot of small studios and also for big studios, and if you're independent especially, it's a really good way to improve as a developer and also improve the revenue that comes in, because you're not spending so much on the games and you have way more chances for success in a short time. The long answer explaining all of that, I'll go into that now. But first, a bit about TapTale. So TapTale is the company with the highest number of downloads in Israel from the App Store. Really proud of that. Again, I just joined, but they're kind of biggest hyper-casual games. It's the Run Sausage Run, if any of you played it. And also, we have a new one that's a game we are publishing, Snakes versus Colors. Did anyone play it in here? Yeah? Okay. Okay. I wish there was more, but I hope it's quite new. I hope you all get there. Other than that, so how did TapTale end up doing hyper casual? TapTale actually started as a kind of Tabtale, so stories on tablets. When the tablet first came out, stories for really little babies and kids, coloring books, ABCs, basic shapes. And slowly, as the audience grew up and got a little bit older, we started teaching them about more like social skills, slowly about things they do at school, and then drama with teens. And then our audience started growing more and more and more, and we saw that they are going into this hyper casual genre, and we also wanted to start joining this. So hyper what? What is actually hyper casual games? Hyper casual games, as far as mechanics or genres, they can be anything. They're quite arcadey, many of them. There are also hyper-casual puzzles. There are these hyper-casual I.O. games that I'm sure you're all familiar with. But it's basically all these games that you can reduce the gameplay. It's mostly about core gameplay, and that you can get from it always, like, even with prototype art. I'll ask this question. How many people have played Helix Jump? Okay, a bit more. But that's a game, it's been on the top free games for a while now. And also a lot of these games have been there before with basically what we call prototype art, programmer art. So this is kind of what hyper casual is. And the loop, again, it's something that you can get in 30 seconds. You can go through a whole loop of most of the games, maybe 2 minutes on an I.O. game. And we like to say that the user acquisition video in the first 3 seconds, it should already be the tutorial. So yeah, the flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. It's true. I was working before on, games that need to keep players for day 90 retention and beyond. And that's where our whales are coming from. And that's like the real audience that's taking care of our business and who we designed the game for. But even though our games maybe don't have day 360 retention of like 5% like some other big games, what we do have is net that's cast pretty wide. So we don't monetize on in-apps that much. Our games are based mostly on advertisements, and everybody watches ads, whether it's banners, interstitials, or rewarded videos. Most of the revenue generated, there are a few in-apps, and there are cases of some types of games that have a bit deeper economy, but this is nothing like, I like to talk about the right side of the store and the left side of the top grossing chart. So there's the top grossing and the top free. And in the top free, most of the games, especially the ones that are hyper casual, we are monetizing everybody, and we also do it very quickly. So if I worked on a puzzle game before, we thought it was great to get the CPI back in 30 days. That was amazing. And we actually get everything much more quickly because everybody, all of the DAO, watches the ads and the interstitials and the banners. And of course, you have to be quite clever with placing them and not destroying the experience of the game. So we like to say that it's a genre that keeps on giving. So it's not like hyper casual is something really new. Flappy Bird was, I'm sure you're all familiar with it, was kind of the first big case of hyper casual where there was a game that was making 50K or more on ads, and it was very, very difficult and exploded everywhere in the store. But there have been games throughout the last few years of hyper casual, and they've gotten to quite impressive places in the charts. I think Ketchup, we should give them some honor that they kind of started to really take this off. But then Voodoo joined, and Lions and us and many, many, many studios are hopping on this. And of course, a lot of them and a lot of our business and also our competitors, it's built on indie studios and small studios that are actually reaching the top free games. They are touching a lot of players' hearts with their entertainment, and they're able to do that even though they're small. This was up to 2017, and then I took a snapshot last night, and I wanted to show you that right now on the left side of the store. So we have there's 11 games here, and I think that only 3 of them are not hyper casual. I don't know if this is almost there, but hyper casual, that's us. Really proud of it. Hyper casual, maybe Fortnite, no. So the other nice thing about the left side of the store is that it changes. It changes quite a lot. If you look at every month, about 50% of the hyper casual games, they switch around there. So you really have a chance. Again, the retention is not usually one that keeps people there for years, but you really have a chance to have a lot of hits going into the store. And if you look at the right side of the store, I think you all know those games. Maybe Fortnite is a new addition, and probably Toon Blast, I think, yeah, Toon Blast is probably the second one, and that's August 2017. So it doesn't, for us, it's really a monthly turnover, and you always have a chance to get a hit. So some basic things about hyper casual games. They are bite-sized games. It's games that there can be people that are super addicted. I played Snakes versus Colors for an hour on my flight, but usually you should be able to play in 30 seconds. You should be able to play on the go. As in all game development, there is no black and white. There can be landscape. There can be more than one finger, but you should try to make the game, if possible, and if it fits it, in portrait mode. You can do it always on the go. You can just play with one finger. The gameplay sessions, they're usually based on this endless impossible loop, so it's very, very difficult to improve, but it's super easy to learn the game. And like I said, the UA video for us, it's we always ask ourselves, can the players understand in the first 3 to 5 seconds of a user acquisition video? So this is after we think of the concept. The first question is, when we're going to buy these players, because that's how we grow our business, are they going to get the game in 5 seconds just from user acquisition video? So by the time they install it, they're already playing and failing quite quickly. And then we call it also snackable content. Again, not long sessions. There's a lot of skill-based in these games. They're very, very easy to learn, but it does take a lot to master them. And again, they're monetized with ads. They have a slight, small in-app, some of them, but most of it is coming for rewarded videos, banners, and interstitials. You guys can hear me well because this keeps slipping, yeah? Okay. So what are kind of the benefits that you get if you go into hyper casual? So you have very short production times. It takes about 1 month to 3 months for us on some games. We can make a game in 4 days and get it in soft launch in 3 weeks. This is the tiniest amount of time. And then actually release it worldwide after less than 2 months. But usually the average is about 2.5 to 3 and a bit months. You get this instant intuitive gameplay. And like I said, we cast a broad net. We don't go after one type of player. I'll touch a bit more on that later. And the monetization comes from ads. So because of this, we have a way cheaper cost of making the games. We have a huge volume of games. So we keep learning. And if you're an indie developer that likes to do things fast and once you don't have enough time until you hit success, this is a much more risk-aversive way of making sure that you don't put yourself in a box on a big project. If the game is not good, your heart gets broken, but you dump it and you move to the other one. This is not a luxury you have on every type of game. As far as the broad appeal, it's like I said, it goes to a big market. Our CPIs are going much lower because of that. Our games also, they are played by children a lot, children in school. And this is kind of the only audience where you still have a K factor, a real one, where someone is taking their phone and showing their friend, I have this game, you should get it. This doesn't happen anymore with, the Candy Crush that had the Farmvilles that grew with Facebook invites. So this still does happen to us with our younger audiences. And like I said, monetization is way more simple. You don't need to manage a huge economy. You do need to be very precise. You need to be data-driven on this side, but it's a little bit easier to handle. And it's also easy to iterate and test things here. So I have to admit that I'm not a presentation person, so I took some jokes from the person who did this before me because I just joined, and I like this slide. He was asking here, what if you were in a bar and each drink was a type of game? So which drink would be the hyper-casual game? Does anybody have any? Throw something out there. Beer. Okay, beer is close, but actually he claims, and I kind of tend to agree, that is the peanuts. You can always get them. They're really quick. They're there. They keep you there. You will come to them, but they're over in quite a bit. They're not expensive. Usually you don't have to pay anything for them. And, maybe some bars, if they didn't have them, they would close down. So we really like the hyper casual games. We feel that they have like a special place in our players' hearts, even if they play other games. So for us, they're like the peanuts and they have to be there. So at TapTale, we have a production studio that I manage, where we develop our own games. We have internal studio, a few studios that with developers and artists and QAs. And we also work with work-for-hire studios, whether it's indie developers looking for some work-for-hire jobs, and also if it's big outsource companies that sometimes want to work with us. And we also have a publishing team. And both the way the publishing team works, as well as you bring them your game, you can talk to me more about it later. It's the main reason I'm here for, is to find people to work with, both for production and publishing. And the way that it works is with a rev share model. What we look for in our games is, the first, there has to be wow in the core. So we know we play when we get a lot of indie developers, and we also get a lot of in-house prototypes. We know very quickly if the core has wow in it. So if you're working on one project and maybe you prototype for a month and you had 3 different things, and 2 were crappy and 1 was a bit less crappy, so it made it look like it's great. We have such a high volume of games. It's very easy it's very easy for us not to go into that box of, oh, let's take the least worst one. So there has to be something in there. It's great if it's feature worthy, if we know we can show it to Apple and Google, if there's viral potential. So if people are going to talk about the game, maybe there's something funky in your IP, like Run Sausage Run, which had that for us. And innovative, I said innovative, yeah, but because many times the innovation actually comes from you being an avid gamer and looking at some retro game from the past that you really loved, and just nobody did it on mobile yet, or nobody perfected the controls for mobile yet. So the fact that you take some super viral, or, well, there wasn't viral back then, but super successful game from the 80s or 90s, something console, and you reduce it to hyper casual and change the controls, that's innovative too, because you're bringing something now to a new platform. So it's also a great direction to go. And again, we look for the games to be polished. The fact that it's cheap to make in terms of the scope and the time, it doesn't mean that you should sacrifice quality on polish. The game still has to look great and feel great. In case I got you interested a bit in thinking about hyper casual, I want to talk a bit about and share with you kind of how we go our process and how we actually do the games in-house. And again, we are all learning, me too especially, but I'll go with you guys through how we're doing it right now. So it's quite similar to most of the companies doing games, but like I said, for us, everything happens per project in about 1, 2, 3 months, something like that. So we have the ideation and concepting part where all the team comes together. Maybe sometimes we have suggestions from people in the company, and we do our market research. I'll go through there. Then we prototype. We decide if it's great or we decide if it's crap. And then if it's great, we move forward to pre-production. We prepare everything to start making the game. And then we move to the next parts of production. But before, I'd like to focus on the ideation to pre-production parts. So, of course, we have 2 meetings a week for brainstorming meetings. We are now 7 game designers, 1 producer, and myself. And at any given moment, each of my designers is working on 2 concepts. They have 1 game going into pre-production, and maybe one that is, there is always 1 game that is the big focus, which takes up most of their time, and that's the next one about to come out to soft launch. But it means there is an intense amount of ideation and concepting all the time, and it has to go on all the time. And most of the ideas are crap, and we are very honest with ourselves. We kill everything that's crap, but we are very open and I would say happy to discuss any silly, stupid thing, because sometimes something like a sausage that kills itself, it can give you 50 million downloads. So this is a very, very important part for us. How we brainstorm, of course, there are people that come with ideas, like I said, looking at all games, but we do the thing that everybody else does. We go on App Annie and we start to make quadrants and we look at what's successful. And of course, that's definitely one way of getting to, we use all these different things. I'm not recommending one, but if you're interested in starting, this is one approach, but I would recommend a few. So you kind of map out what's going on there and you start to think if you can hybridize some of those, if you can fix something in one of those, or if you have a better idea already. And we look at all our competitors, of course, always looking what's the last thing they released. So the original ones that were kind of dominating this market were Ketchup. Afterwards came Voodoo and Graham Games also, which kind of now started making more kind of casual games, not hyper casual. Cheetah Mobile, they have this nice music hyper casual angle. They have some beautiful games. And Lions is a new company with some great games too. There's all these other hits from everybody below as well. And I really recommend, if you don't play too much of those, look up these companies and start downloading their games, and ours, of course, too. This image is a bit older, but another thing that you can see when you look at the top 3 games and the hyper casual ones, it's very easy to, we kind of speak a language. So again, nothing is black and white. There can be a game like Bowmasters, which is right there, and it's a hyper casual game, but it doesn't really look like hyper casual. But when you take the actual hyper casual games there and you look at their icons, even how they speak, you see there's a lot of these basic shapes going on. And maybe if you don't play these games and you look at the story, you're thinking, what are all these balls games and these squares games and these snake games? So it's just marketing wise, if you do make a good game that's very reduced and goes down to this prototype art, it's very easy to explain already to the players going to the storefronts what this game is about from the icon. It's very easy to tell that these are probably these basic reduced shape games that are going to be hyper casual. Like I said, we still have viral opportunities, and those are 2 things. So we have the K factor part, okay? But because our production time is so quick compared to other genres, if the fidget spinner is coming out now, we can make a fidget spinner game. If there's and we can deliver it in about 1 month. There's the lava on the floor case, and I have to say, again, this is another slide from before that I wanted to keep, but the viral opportunity game, it's great, but it's just a multiplier. It's still, if you do something fast, it still has to have a very, very good core. So these are quite good games. They aren't the best. 25 million downloads is not, it's impressive, but it's not the best that hyper casual can do. There are much better ones than that. But still, again, if you're a small indie developer, you want to test stuff, you want to show some investors that you can get a lot of downloads, and you see some trend, this is one way to approach it as well. So other things we always try to look at when we brainstorm and think of what to do. So we're thinking like, this is a game, again, this is before I joined the company, but it's our most successful hyper casual game, Run Sausage Run. And that was the prototype. And the idea for this was basically one of our very creative designers said, hey, I really love the physics of a noodle. If you have this wet noodle and it swings like this, like we always try to think about things with physics, for example, what things move in a funny way. And so something like this, oops, other way, something like this ends up like this, and you should play this game. It's really, really wacky, and it's a fun mechanic. It's a weird runner that bends backwards. We also look at a lot of basic stuff from before. So not just retro games, also games that you've played, like physical ones, and try to think of prototypes from there. It's not like they always work. This one was one that didn't really pan out, but it's very, very quick and easy to try. So again, it's a certain approach that can take you to really, really good prototypes that may end up being games. We also look at our competitors and try to make a twist. So from the game on the left to the game on the right. And the truth is everything that I'm showing you here, except Run Sausage Run, are failed prototypes. And because I can't show you the ones that are probably going to come out in the next months, But it's also very important that you know, just like we have a lot of crappy ideas, though there are ideas that we turn into prototypes, and the prototype is crappy and we kill it then. We're in a big business of killing the bad things. We have to, because our mass of ideas and prototypes is huge. I'll go a bit more into that. We also tried to make an AA in 3D that was not fun at all. It was a bit too complicated. Another place that you can look to get ideas is the world around us. So maybe you see how a leaf is falling and you think that that's an interesting way to make a game. We tried to make some really basic prototype like that. It wasn't fun, but again, it gave us an idea, and it's very fast to test this thing. So, you know, if you're working on, I don't know, Clash Royale now, and you come into work and you say, oh my God, I saw this monster, I saw this man eating a lot of food in the mall and I want to make a monster in the game, a card like that. Like, that's, you can't have these crazy ideas when you have this big title, and everything has to be very well thought out and planned. For us, it's very easy to get creative and kill it very fast if it's not good. So another idea that didn't work, somebody liked how it looks like when you zoom in on how the guitar strings move, and then we made a prototype with that. But again, it wasn't fun, but some of these do pan out. And like I said before, going back to the retro games, so this is not just us. Many people are doing it, and you know it. There is Frogger, and then there was Crossy Roads. There's Space Invaders and Shooty Skies. There's Tiny Wings, which is an amazing premium game from 2011. And then there is Dune from 2017, which is a free game by Voodoo that's very, very similar. And the idea is many times you can even look for games that were very, very popular. Like if I go many, many slides back to the #1 top free game for a while. So this Happy Glass game that's been there for a while, #1 there, it's actually, it's the same as, there's like 3 other games. There's one premium, and there's also very early 2009 games from the iPhone 3 that came out like that. So sometimes you just need to kind of revive something that people forgot about. And don't forget that a lot of kids that are playing these games didn't have iPhones in 2009. So this is also another great way if you want to get to market fast and get some user base. I'll rush a bit. Okay. So back to this funnel and what happens after. So we exited pre-production, and then we start to actually make the game. What we do is we prepare our game design documents, all the concept art and monetization strategy for the game. Like I said, it's based on ads, but you do need to take the time to understand where you're going to place everything so you don't make your players angry. And we also have our balancing tools for the game. At that point, we reach alpha, and it changes between 1 week to 3 weeks. And we all sit again and we ask ourselves, is this crap? Is it not? Do we want to continue? Do we have better things to do? Because we always have more ideas in the backlog. If it passes alpha, then we go to do the final art for the game and all the UI. We add all the SDKs and the analytics, and we reach beta. At beta, we usually get to, because we know already that the game was good at alpha, so we usually will go at beta to soft launch. Sometimes we also not go to soft launch. We'll say, you know what, it's not that good as we thought it was, but most of the time we will catch that at alpha. Then we will go to the soft launch. And once we do the soft launch on real players, we get, we also, by the way, use a lot of playtesting tools. We bring kids into the office to do playtests and host them ourselves. And we also do use Playtest Cloud. Basically, once we're done with the playtesting, and then we actually go to the soft launch, we get our numbers for the game, and if everything pans out, we gear up for a worldwide release. And the difference between those two is something like, can be 2 weeks to maybe 1.5 months if it's a game that has level balancing or some kind of balancing in it. But many games, they are just an endless level with spawning segments. And oh, I rushed through this part in the other slide, sorry. So basically, at the end of this slide, we were getting to the end of the QA part of the game, and then comes the soft launch, and then afterwards. And again, it says optional because we do end up killing a lot of things if we think they're not promising. So it can be that we get to it can be that we get to soft launching the games and then the numbers don't pan out. And then it's no longer us asking, is it crap or is it good? Should we continue? It's the numbers telling us the truth, and we have to kill the game. So if we do a good enough job, we end up releasing the game and we put it out worldwide, just like happened with Snakes vs. Colors recently. Although that one was a publishing game. The minute that it's there, we want to take over the world, and we have very cheap CPI, so we start to push it up the charts, and that's pretty much it. So I'd love to talk to any of you that are interested to learn more about this. If you have games that you want to send to us to look at them, I can connect you with our publishing studio as well. I can tell you that they turn over the whole company if they have a game they believe in, just like we have with Snake versus Colors. And if you're interested in working with my studio as work for hire developers, that's also, we're really, really interested in that. And thank you.